Welcome to the Black Script. My name is Kevin Marable, and today our guest is an actor, writer, director, and producer. We have with us Dani Coleman. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you on. Thank you for joining. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. So, I like to start every interview with a very simple question, but some people might find it difficult to answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And that question is, who is Dani Coleman?
Oh, Danny Coleman is a hot, crazy mess. No, Danny Coleman is fun. She's compassionate. She is adventurous. She's hardworking. She's dedicated. She means business and she plays no games, but she plays a lot of games at the same
All
time.
right. All right. I like that. So aside from that of who Dani Coleman is as a person,
Mhm.
as I stated before, you are an actor, writer, director, producer. You are a multi hyphenate.
Yeah.
You wear all of the hats,
Mhm.
so to speak. Which came first for you?
Oh, this is always a tricky question. So, if I think of like my adult years, acting came first, but
Mhm.
because I didn't start writing screenplays until 2019. But I began acting around 2007. But when I think further back, I'm like, all this time I've been saying acting came first, but really it's been creative writing. Because I very vividly remember being in the third grade, creating my own original comic book. And I remember like it was like a whole story, all the comic strips and everything. I remember coloring it, doing all the things, getting it printed up, making copies, and handing it out to my friends. So that's why I
Wow.
was like, I say acting, but when I think further back, I think writing actually came first.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So at a very early age, you knew that this is somewhat of a field that you wanted to get into, but maybe not quite knew how to do it, but you wanted to be a storyteller. Let's put it.
Yes, yes. It's the one thing I've always wanted to do, and I was really clear on it from the time I was young. Like I want to. I just remember saying I want to work on TV, but I didn't really hone in on what that meant. Like I didn't know from what angle. I just remember being a kid, like, oh, I want to work on TV. I want to have a convertible. Like I was so clear on these things that I wanted when I was a kid.
Yeah, a convertible. What kind of convertible?
Oh my gosh, so embarrassing. I wanted a white convertible with red leather interior. I do not know why. To this day,
Yeah.
I don't have that car, and I don't know if I ever want that car. But when I was a kid, I just remember wanting that.
I feel like, back in the day in our early years, a lot of what we looked at as luxury vehicles were white with red interior, and they were sports cars.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
So that's probably where it came from, is probably what you saw at that time.
Hmm.
And so you equated it to success, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. So we've talked a little bit offline, and through our conversation, I discovered that you do this full time.
Mhm.
How did you get to the point to where you have been able to sustain this full time?
Whew. A lot of long hours, a lot of networking, but mostly building my skill sets. So I didn't start out as being able to do all the things. I started out as an actor, and we can get into the story of how I ended up pivoting and adding screenwriter into that mix. But as an actor, you're always on set, you're meeting a lot of people. And I've always been a person who naturally wants to know how things work, how things are processed. I've always been that person. Like, I want to know the how, I want to know the why. Um, so I started there, and through building up my network that way, I began working in front of the behind the camera as well. Like I came in entry level. I would take production assistant jobs just to be on set and see what everybody was doing. And then I kind of worked my way up the ranks
Hmm.
now to being full time for the past 6 years because of all the skill sets I've collected over the years. I know how to write, I know how to produce, I know how to direct, I know how to creative direct, I know how to set build. Because of that, it has allowed me to always keep a job on set because of my networking, meeting all these different people in different avenues. And they're like, hey, I have this idea for a music video set. Can you help? Yes, I can.
Right.
Hey, I need this treatment. Can you do it? Yes, I can. Hey, I got this idea, but I don't know how to execute it. Yes, I can. So it became that of like, it's never me just doing one specific thing. It's always, you know, pulling from different skill sets and just keep working.
Yeah, and putting it all together.
Yeah.
And to be able to do for yourself, but also to do for others. And through that, it made you a stronger creative all
Yes.
around.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. So I know we talked a little bit about the acting and writing, but as it pertains to directing and producing, where did you start there?
I started with my own screenplay. So it was February 2019.
Okay.
I was at a callback. Now, I'm in Atlanta,
Hmm.
and this is when you could still do auditions and callbacks in person. Right now, they're like 90% on tape.
Virtual.
But,
Hmm.
this was then, and I'll never forget. I was at a callback, which is the second audition for a very popular network television show. So they liked my first audition. They said, we want to see her. Can she come back in? Came back in, and I'll never forget. I'm sitting in the waiting room to go in. I just so happened to be on my phone and get an email from my agents letting me know that they were dropping me.
Oh.
Yeah, while I was at the second audition. So I was like, okay, I'm getting dropped, but I'm going to still finish this audition. And then
Hmm.
after that, the reality of like, okay, I don't have agents. And I had had these same agents for like probably 3 or 4 years at that time. And they were my first agents. And I took that moment and I was like, okay, I can like jump into another agency. I know other agents, or I can kind of take this time to figure out what I want to do next. And about
Hmm.
2 weeks after getting dropped, I was scrolling through Instagram and I seen a post about a short film competition and have very specific rules. Like it was like can't be more than 5 minutes, have to say this specific line, has to have this
Right.
type of shot. It was like a very much like if you follow all of this and you make a great film, it goes into the competition.
Right. Yeah.
I had this idea right away. I didn't even know how to write a screenplay at the time, but one of my good friends went to film school and I was like, I need your help. Like, I got this idea, but what do I do? He was like, all right, write it out. We'll shoot it. We'll figure it out. 2 weeks later, we shot it. I liked the way it looked. We put it into that competition. And out of like 15 other movies, it won best film.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I pivoted into directing and producing. Like I didn't actually know what I was doing, but I had this idea for a story and was like, okay, well, I want it to look like this. I wanted to, I mean, I was green. I didn't even know terminology, like the right lingo. I would just say, like, can you make it look closer in? And he was like, you mean like pan in, zoom in? Like he would like use the proper
The right
terminology.
terms. Yeah.
Yep, and that was my first time directing. And then when I
Wow.
won the award for best film, it kind of just it set a fire, and I was like, now I want to learn what I
Yeah.
need to do. So I started looking up things on YouTube and masterclass and just like any director I could meet in Atlanta through my networking, through working on set. I'd sit
Mhm.
and talk to them. I'd ask them questions like, hey, can I shadow you on this? Or while I'm on set, even just working as a PA, I would, I'd be like, put me on set, put me near the video village. And I would always want to just sit there and kind of see what was happening. And I think that helped me get better over time.
Yeah. So, like you said, it set fire to you, but that was actually the light bulb moment. Like, I
Mhm.
can actually do this myself,
Yes.
and let me figure out how I can pivot.
Mhm.
Once my agents drop me, how can I pivot and continue to do what it is that I love, and continue down this path, um, and see where it takes me.
Mhm.
But let me see if I can actually do it myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
always been a self starter.
Yeah. I see
Like
that.
even in college, like I want to say I've always been a creative, and I've
Mhm.
always had creative ventures. So even in college, I remember my freshman year of college, like if you went to an HBCU or went to a school near an HBCU, I was lucky enough to go to both. I went to Florida State and FAMU together collectively at the same time for two different majors.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got the PWI experience and the HBCU experience. And one thing that was like extremely popular in college was like modeling troops. And I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. So that was like my first time being in a college arena like that, but also seeing what that was. And I
Mhm.
remember I was like, oh, it's groups of people. They like putting on fashion shows. They're like a gang, but like for fashion.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna start my own. And even though like it was tons of them there, and it was like, what freshman starts her own? Like, who does she think she is? And I was like, Danny. And I started my own, and like it ran on the campus for like probably almost 10 years. I had long graduated, and they kept my organization going for a while. And
Wow.
it's like, I would find groups of people that I thought were really cool to be the models, and I would find local designers, and we put on fashion shows and all types of stuff. So like I think I've always had the creative director bug. It just has evolved over the years into what it is now.
Yeah. A few steps and a few advancements along the way until you
Yeah.
got to the point to where you found this is exactly what it is that I want to do.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Mhm. And so now you get into filmmaking. In your latest film,
Hmm.
which is called The Other Side of Fair,
Yeah.
it has an interesting take on perspectives.
Yes.
If you could you elaborate on what your film is about?
My film addresses the cultural elephant in the room.
Mm.
So I kept it simple. I kept it black and white, literally.
Literally.
I put it into the perspective of, okay, a lot of the times we as black people have to code switch. Sometimes we're all familiar with what it is, code switching, not using so much slang or talking a certain way or with a certain cadence in certain rooms where we might not be openly accepted. So I wanted to take a look at that. Make it satirical, make it funny but real, and put it in a workplace. Because it
Mhm.
was right around the time where like diversity and inclusion and all of this was a big trend amongst companies, and like, oh, we need black leaders, so let's just start hiring them. And then it's like
Right.
it's performative. And so I wanted to have a little fun with it and take a Freaky Friday twist and say, okay, we have a black woman and a white woman in an office space, and we see this natural hair, beautiful, vibrant black woman
Yes.
almost in a way shrinking herself through her code switching to get along in the workplace. Like she's the only black one there, but she knows her job. She's there because she knows her job. But it's a situation like you feel the tension. You feel when it's
Mhm.
like, oh, you're here. I'm intimidated, but I don't really know why. And so she's kind of like, she's not intimidated, but the white woman,
Mhm.
her colleague, her competition she didn't even know was going to be her competition,
Right.
feels the type of way. And basically, we see them navigate life um, through each other's eyes, I guess you could say. I mean,
Through each other's
simply
point of
put,
view.
yeah, simply put, they wake up one day and they're stuck in each other's bodies.
Right.
So now it's like culture shock, and it's like, wait, this can't even be real. The black girl magic took a hold, and it's like, I said something. I said I wish you could live a day in a black woman's shoes, but I wasn't expecting it to really happen like this. So they
Yeah.
wake up and they realize they're stuck in each
Yeah.
other's bodies. Like the black girl is now in this white girl's world, in this white girl's body. She looks like the white girl, everything, like she's stuck there. And
Mhm.
so I wanted her to there's a a lesson in all the madness, but I wanted her to, for a moment, just see what it feels like to just in this
Being
white girl's shoes, how easy you have it. You don't got to argue with anybody. You get
right.
all the love and the praise. Um, I wanted to take a fun look at how the internet makes fun of white mediocrity.
Mhm.
Like you get the best of everything for doing absolutely bare minimum, even when it comes down to love and relationships. So I wanted to kind of touch on a lot of things, relationships,
Mhm.
workplace drama, just day-to-day life of like the differences.
Yeah, and I felt like you actually did a great job and a great take on showcasing the perspectives, and actually putting that twist, with the workplace and the two women, that are colleagues, and they're going against each other, or one's more so pushing than the other,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, without giving the story away, I like the fact that they came to a common ground,
Yeah.
um, and there's definitely a lesson there, um,
Yeah.
to be seen and to be had, and also to be discussed.
Yeah.
Even through watching this film.
Right. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put the sugar in the medicine.
Hmm.
I wanted it to be funny until it's not funny. So it's
Right.
very relatable to us as Black people who have probably been in this situation on multiple levels. Like you get in a room and now it's like, I can't do my hey girl, what's up? They're gonna be like, huh? So I have to be like, hello, how are you doing?
Yes.
Instant code switch. And then instantly, I'm hearing my real Black girl thoughts like, girl, that how we do. So I was just like, that's so relatable on a lot of different
Yeah.
planes. And then, even with relationships, it was just a lot. I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's put the sugar in the medicine, you
One of
know?
the things that I learned, I mean, that I didn't learn this, but that I loved with your film is when they do trade places,
Hmm.
they trade voices as well.
Yeah.
Or you paired up the right voice with the different body, I should say.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that, because it was unexpected. I thought that, okay, they're gonna switch or they're gonna swap, but it would still be the same actors, utilizing their
Yeah.
voices. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Thank you.
I
And
love that flow. Yeah.
when I thought of it, and I'm a huge fan of Freaky Friday. I
Mhm.
absolutely love that movie. 13 again, 13 going on 30. All of those like weird I'm switching body or gender or age type of movies have always been interesting to me. Even Little, I loved Little,
Yeah,
with
little,
Marseille Martin. So, but what I noticed is when they change, their voice never changes.
right.
So I wanted to have a unique take on that. Like, okay, no, this is
Yeah,
how people are going to know they switch because they're going to hear, like, wait a minute, the voices are so different.
right.
The cadence and how they speak is so different. And I just want to say, like, my actresses, man,
Yes, I was gonna
Aaliyah
say,
Raphael and Christine Oswald,
yeah.
they did that. Like, they they really put a lot of energy into, because ultimately they had to both learn the entire script.
Hmm.
They had to learn all the parts, even the parts once they switched. And the switch takes place pretty early into the movie. So
It
they
does.
had to really, I mean, they took time to really study each other physically. We like went out to hang out, went out to lunch and like regular environments to
Hmm.
just kind of see each other in our normal ways. And
Right.
they killed it. Like I think that's what I'm most excited about. Like my actresses really, the movie would have been great because I wrote it. But they were absolutely amazing because they really took on not just like, oh, I need to learn all the lines. And then they had to do all the ADR after in post production to kind of like sync up the words that were being said. But
Right.
while we were shooting, they were coaching each other before each scene. So like
Wow.
they would rehearse the scene together, and like Aaliyah would say, "Wait, girl, I would do it like this. I would have this physicality with it." And
Mhm.
then Christine would just take it in, absorb it, and then mimic it, and vice versa. When it was Aaliyah's scenes, Christine would be like, "Wait, because I would probably sit like this, or I would do this," and it was just so cool to watch. Like, oh
Right.
yeah, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah, they did an excellent job. And to your point of them coaching each other, behind the scenes for each particular scene, um, it felt like they did their homework. They actually did what they were supposed to do. They came prepared. It didn't seem forced at all.
No, it wasn't.
Seemed very natural,
Yeah.
and the fact that everything just lined up perfectly, I
Yeah.
thought it made for a seamless transition. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that. I mean, I enjoyed watching them,
right.
play the parts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's nailing it. Like, because I
Yeah,
actually knew Aaliyah outside of this. Aaliyah was a friend of mine. And when I was writing it, I had it in mind, like, okay, she has to have natural hair. And then I was like, wait, Aaliyah. And
yeah,
like, she had been in some shows and some things. And I was like, hey, I got this idea. And she was on board. So
that's
yeah,
good.
it
Yeah.
was great to
Did
watch.
Were you able to capture any behind the scenes of filming, or you were solely just focused on the direction and making sure that everything was done correctly?
No, we got a lot of behind the scenes. We had a photographer and a videographer on set, plus, all my crew, if they weren't doing anything, they had their cameras out recording. We have tons of BTS of like how the whole thing came together. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess what I want to ask you is, what is the plan for this film?
The plan is one, to put it through film festivals. I want to use this as a leverage point to really get further in the door.
Mhm.
Use it for networking purposes. I think it's a solid film. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the work we did to put it
Yes.
together. Um, and so I want to put it in film festivals, see what happens with that. Film festivals are a great place to meet the who's and get necessary eyeballs on your work. And that was my main goal from the beginning. I said, I don't need a lot of people to watch it. I need the right people to watch it.
Right.
So I felt like the best way to get the right people to watch it would be to put it through the film festival circuit,
Hmm.
where there's, agents and managers and network executives and investors, all the people who are looking for something to create further and give budget to and license. So I wanted the right eyeballs to get on it. And that's mainly the plan. And then use it as leverage for my next script.
Okay, for your next script. Okay.
Hmm.
I was gonna ask you, is the
Yeah.
leverage also to help catapult you to the next level as well?
Yes. Yes.
And
That
so
is the primary
with
goal.
that being said, what are you looking to what are your goals for yourself? Where do you see yourself within maybe like the next year or two?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So when I started, I have to go back to go forward. When I started in 2019, I had a 5-year plan, and my 5-year plan was to write, produce, and direct as many projects as I could under my own personal production imprint, to
Hmm.
build a portfolio to show my range as a writer, director, actor, and producer. I now have 7 projects that I've self produced, self funded, and written and directed since 2019.
Wow.
And the plan is to take that. And now I have leverage because the way I wrote them in the beginning was cliffhangers. So, as proof of concepts. So, if someone
Hmm.
was to see my next script, which is actually the full feature of one of my shorts that I previously did, they can watch that short and say, oh my God, this is great. So, what happens next? And then I can use it as a pitch point to say, hey, by the way, I actually have a feature film version of this, and this is what happens next. So that is the plan, to use all of my previous works, with the other side of fair being my best and longest and most well put together film so far. Use
Right.
that as the opening door, and then say, by the way, I have 6 other projects that I've already done that can be turned into features or TV shows.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
a smart way to navigate, and to, like you said, provide a cliffhanger or an entryway into the conversation of saying, hey, I loved what you did on these shorts. Do you have more? And then you say, I'm glad you said that.
Mhm.
here's the full length, or here's the episodic version of this, or
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So for folks that are looking to do the same thing, this is definitely a way, a smart way of doing it, and navigating that road. So I actually love that you said that, because I always look for new and interesting pathways into the business, and not necessarily following what is the what's known as the traditional way, or the cookie cutter way of
Mhm.
doing things. We have to find new ways, whether they're innovative or they're just um, going against the grain, but still making, paving a new path into the industry. And I feel like what you're doing and what you said, um, is a smart way of doing that.
Thank you.
Sure, sure. As a black woman having to navigate in this world,
Mhm.
how important was it to create a film such as The Other Side of Fair?
Oh, I think it was very important. As Black women, I feel like we are always fighting to be seen.
Hmm.
So I felt like with the other side of fair, it was necessary to show that this is really a real part of our life. Having to walk into a room and sometimes being the only Black woman there or the only Black person there. And as much as we want to be ourselves, sometimes being ourselves in those spaces are more detrimental than positive for us. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show how we as Black women are worthy of love and care as well. But
Yes.
for some reason, it feels like we always have to kind of fight for it or settle for it. And I wanted to showcase that. And then
Hmm.
I also, I don't want to give away the whole movie, but I wanted to showcase how unpredictable life can be for us as Black women sometimes.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Um, how long did it take for you to actually film this project?
4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, we
4 days.
shot it in 4 days.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. And you said all of your projects are self-funded. Um, if you don't mind me asking,
Hmm.
please let me know if I'm overstepping.
No, you're
But
good.
I always love to hear how you come about financing, especially on the independent side.
Hmm.
And when you're a self-starter, you're doing everything on your own, and you may not have all of the avenues to be able to have investors or have people, put forth money
Right.
for your project. How do you produce your content, on your own?
Man, this is where the power of networking comes in. I am a very resourceful person.
Hmm.
So the film did not cost nearly as much as it could have if I didn't have these necessary resources. Um, I feel like as an independent filmmaker, we always hear people like Issa say network across.
Right.
Network across in all directions. If you know someone who has access to an office building because they work there and they're like, yeah, you guys can shoot here, but only on the weekends because that's when business is closed,
Right.
utilize that. To be honest with you, almost all of our locations were donated to
Wow.
us
Wow.
because of one of my executive producers, Bathsheba Badwi. She was really well connected. She wanted to be a part of it, and she said, "What do you need?" And I said, "I need locations." And she says,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, what kind of locations?" And I told her, and she started making phone calls and pulling strings, and we were able to get the boutique, the primary location, the office building, and the restaurant for like free, little to nothing, So I would say network, everybody knows somebody who knows somebody. And this is where building those relationships comes in, being able to just make a phone call. This was my most expensive film so far. It absolutely was expensive. I absolutely had to take on all types of odd jobs. I had to pull from my savings. I did a crowdfunding, but a few $1,000s came out of that.
Okay.
Most of the money was primarily me putting up the money. But yeah, I made it happen. But I would say if you don't have investors, if you don't have a lot of money,
Hmm.
Figure out what you have access to for free or for little to nothing. Like, okay, I got a couple $100. Will you take that? I think the best way to get a lot of businesses on board, especially small businesses, black owned businesses,
Hmm.
offer to one, shoot on a day that they're already closed. So that way it's not biting into the potential money they could make.
Right.
If you do have a little money to spare, offer to pay the hourly of whoever they have to have come in while you're shooting on what would be an off day, and offer to help them promote their business and what they have going on. Everything is word of mouth and we love free promotion. So a lot of businesses, if you shoot at them and you're talking about them online to your following, it works. It's free advertisement. If people had no idea that they existed, they do now, you know?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah, the power of networking and networking across
Yeah.
and utilizing your resources, being very resourceful,
Mhm.
and then just figuring out new ways to make things happen,
Yeah.
without always having to reach into your pocket.
Yeah.
Um, but when you absolutely have to, you absolutely have to make it
Mhm.
work.
Yep.
Um, just in speaking with you here and also offline, um, to me, you hold a certain level of confidence within yourself,
Mhm.
and you seem to know the direction that you want to take.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the type of confidence or the amount of confidence you need to have, that other creative women of color should have moving forward?
Yes. Listen, you got to know yourself,
Hmm.
but my biggest advice is knowing who not to listen to. We get information coming from everywhere, from everybody. Everybody thinks they're right. I am the kind of person, I don't listen to anybody. As crazy as it sounds, like I listen to people, but I'm one of those people who is like, if you have not done more than me, if you have not gone farther than me, no disrespect, but I cannot listen to you tell me how to do something that I haven't seen you do on a higher level than me.
Hmm.
So a lot of my confidence comes from just believing in myself. I have a very clear vision on what I want to do, and I keep the blinders on. It's like, this is what I want to do, stay focused on that, block out the distractions. You
Right.
know your vision better than anybody else. That's,
Yeah.
that's
No,
it.
that is
Don't
for
listen to
sure.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you do have to have your blinders on. You almost have to have a certain level of delusion, and
Yeah.
and just ultimately believing in yourself, believing
I
in your goals, and knowing that you will achieve them.
yeah.
Um, as long as you stay focused
Yeah.
and keep your eyes on the prize and looking forward,
Yeah.
you'll get there. You'll definitely get there. But
Absolutely.
it also requires hard work and dedication. A lot
Yes.
of a lot of long nights, long days.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
stay the
You make
course.
it happen. Make it happen, and just don't make excuses. I know life happens. I've had plenty of life happen in my
Right.
journey. Like, life happens, things happen. Uh, don't let it stop you. And I think when stories are coming from a real place, uh, they come out more naturally.
Hmm.
So unless you like specifically, you know, write sci-fi, or, alien type movies. If
Right.
your movies have humans in them, make them human. So
Hmm.
I think that's where a lot of my confidence comes from. I'm not writing about or telling stories that are not relatable to women who look like me. You know.
Right. Right. Let's talk a little bit about that. Your writing. What is your writing process? Do you formulate an outline first, and then or structure get all your beats, and then fill in the blanks and formulate your story that way? Or are you kind of the person that freestyles as you go until you get to a conclusion, or do you start at the end where you know where the end result's going to be, and then you work your way back?
It is a combination of all three of those things because I'm not a formally trained screenwriter. A lot of my learning how to screenwrite has been through trial and error of what works for me. So
Right.
I don't. necessarily start by creating a full outline, but like I'll have an idea. And in that idea, I kind of write out as many spin-off ideas as I can for that.
Hmm.
So okay, I got this idea. This girl is, getting into the dating world. So the bubble is dating in 2023,
Hmm.
right? And then it's like all these, things I hear on the internet, things I see, just I kind of just play around with it. And then for me, if I can see what happens at least in the middle or to the end of the movie, I know I can write it. So if
Yeah.
I know how the movie ends, or if I at least know the climactic point of the movie, that's like, oh, here's the pivot. Here's,
Right.
if I can see that, the rest is easy. If I can see the end point, it's even easier. And then I kind of work backwards by filling in the gaps. So like once I have like the key ideas down,
Hmm.
then sometimes I go in and make like a beat sheet. Like, okay, this happens. This is this scene. This is this scene. This is this scene. I
Hmm.
can honestly say the dialogue is usually the last thing that's added in.
Really? Okay. So
Yeah.
it's more so the story before the dialogue.
Yeah. Because I don't feel like dialogue is needed in every scene, you
Right.
know?
No, and it's not.
So
It's not.
for me, yeah. So for me, I'm kind of like, okay, what happens? Why is this happening? And what is she hoping, or what is he hoping to happen by the end? And once I can answer those questions, I kind of just play with it. Like
Yeah.
right now, the script I'm working on, I just finished writing act one.
Hmm.
And I have act two mapped out. Like I kind of know where I want it to go, but I haven't written any dialogue for it yet. So it might change.
Yeah. And you typically write in a three structure.
Hmm.
Um, okay.
Beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
I think it is the one structural piece of screenwriting that I kind of stick to all the time. Like, this is what's happening in the beginning. Okay, we're in the middle part. Where are we going with this? How is this thing going to end? That's it for me.
Right. What's next for Danny Coleman?
Oh, what is next for me?
Yeah.
Film festival run with the Other Side of Fair.
Okay.
I am currently writing my next script, which is based off of a short film that I did in 2019. I think I sent it to you, but if I didn't, I will. And
Yeah.
outsource,
I have to double check.
yeah,
I know you sent me several things, but
yeah.
yeah.
Um, and with that, I hope to actually find like a larger production company to fund it. I'm hoping to take that next one. I'm hoping to take that out of here. Like
Okay.
I'd love it if Will Packer, fellow FAMU alumni, if you see this, shameless plug.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love for Will Packer or Issa Rae to help me with that.
Yeah.
Those are
So
the two people I
Issa
would
or
like to work
Will, if you're listening and you're watching,
with.
hit Danny up.
That's why I was like, yeah, that's what's next for me. What's next is my next script,
Mhm.
finding an even bigger umbrella to help make it. I've done enough self-funding. I have done enough self-funding of films.
Right.
Um, you know, with this next one, with this The Other Side of Fair, I'm hoping to be able to find a nice home for it at the end of the festival run.
Hmm.
Licensing. Uh, Last resort would be to just put it on streamers myself, which is nothing wrong with that, but I'm here for the connections.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what's next, festival run, finding a home for the other side of fair, and pitching my next movie idea to a bigger force.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um, are you going to ABFF or Essence Film Festival or any of the other film festivals coming up?
they are in the plans. So unfortunately, my film, The Other Side of Fair, had a too short runtime to submit to ABFF. But I
Um,
still want to go. Yeah, like ABFF had a very specific minimum runtime, and my film was actually short of that runtime by some minutes. So, and same thing for Essence. But I'm like, for me, since I have a movie, I
Yeah.
have something to talk about, I can still go. Um,
Yes. Absolutely.
so that is what I'm thinking, that I might just still go anyway,
Right.
um, and have a good time,
Hmm.
meet some people and talk.
Network.
You never know what can happen.
Yep.
Because the only reason why I couldn't put mine in either of those festivals was a technicality, runtime. And
Right.
at some point, I thought about it. I sat with my team and I said, for ABFF specifically, right?
Hmm.
I was like, okay, for their short category, they only take 5 films. But for their short category, it has to be under 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
looking at my movie, I said, we'd have to cut out a lot of the story.
Right.
And I felt like I very strategically planned my movie to where it told a full story. There
Yeah.
wasn't too much
Yeah.
that could be cut out without totally making something miss the point.
Yeah.
And
Your film is like an hour long.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
like. It's like a feature. If you put it somewhere where there's commercials, it goes over an hour automatically.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
I was just like, okay, if we cut it down to 20 minutes, I feel like we'll lose too much of the story. And
Right.
then I even kind of did like a secondary outline of like, if we all worked really fast, this is back in December. I said, if we work fast,
Hmm.
could I add an additional 15 or so minutes to the movie? And when I mapped out where I could add more, I was just like, that would be like 9 minutes more. Like it still wouldn't
Be enough.
reach.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, my ABFF dreams are dead for this year,
No,
but I can
it's not
still
dead.
go.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll actually get the funding for my next film and it'll actually show at ABFF, like be the
Well,
feature.
here's the thing, and I'm not saying that this is you in particular, but I think a lot of us want to submit specifically for the accolades and want to go specifically for the accolades or to be accepted and have it shown. Obviously you want it to be shown in the best light possible,
Hmm.
but that doesn't stop you from still going, networking, having something, some form of a flyer, graphic, even like the new technology. A lot of people are getting these bracelets, and you just tap it to your phone and it can be a link directly to your movie or directly to your link tree that has all of your films or all of your projects listed.
Yes.
There are a myriad of ways to connect with people and still get your work seen. And it also allows for you to be able to talk to maybe a lot more people, and have them walk away with something that they can go and check later.
Yep.
Because a lot of times when you go to these events, you're going to be inundated and overwhelmed with a lot of content, a lot of people in your face, and it's
Yep.
going to be hard to remember everything.
Yep.
Of course, there'll be a few things that are standout, a few
Hmm.
projects that are standout, a few people that you meet that are standout, but you also need time to be able to process that. And so to go and be there in person and talk to as many people as you can talk to, you can definitely get your voice heard, your face seen, and network in the proper way, and still be able to deliver just as if you were selected,
Yeah.
via submission.
Yep. So that's the consideration. That's
Mhm.
the plan. Um, Check those festivals. I mean, I've submitted at this point.
Right.
Ooh, we have submitted to 27.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
of those 27, I want to say 15 of them are like big ones, like qualifiers and things of that nature. Um, and I was very, very strategic with that too when I was planning like what festivals I wanted to submit to. If it
Right.
wasn't gold or if it wasn't like an Oscar qualifier, even though my film doesn't qualify to make the Oscar qualifying list because it's not a short, I just know the caliber of people that go to
Exactly.
those.
Yes.
So I'm not too worried. We've submitted to quite a few, and we have at this moment about 7 more to submit to.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all about networking. So even though if I'm not showing at ABFF this year, I'm probably still going to be there. Still going to be at Essence, handing out my little mini movie posters with the QR code. Like,
Awesome, man. Yeah,
yeah.
that's dope. Well, at the end of every interview, I like to give my guests the final word,
Hmm.
and that is, whether you'd like to give a piece of advice that has been given to you, words of encouragement that you would like to share, or a quote that you love to live by? Any of those three?
Okay. All of those three. All right. My best advice is if you have an idea, write it down, do it. Uh, do not let lack of money stop you from making your movie. I've made pretty good movies for free. Um, I've made pretty good movies for less than $500, and I've made pretty good movies for less than $3,000. And then
Mhm.
I spent quite a bit of money on the other side of fair.
Right.
But my point is it can be done. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody. So reach out to your immediate network, and then, like, it's like circles, like reach out to your immediate circle, then the circle outside of that, and just keep going until you find somebody who knows somebody or is the somebody who can connect you to things. You
Mhm.
can get a lot of things for free when you're trying. Reach out to businesses. A lot of businesses will take the free promo. They'll love that. And it gives them a reason to support your movie and promote it when it comes out, because they're talking about the fact that it was at their wherever location, or their clothing or their company was seen in the movie, things like that.
Right.
Preparation is key. Preparation is key. When you're thinking about the next step, I think it's really important to think about the next steps after that. So if you're thinking about, going to ABFF to network, you need to be prepared to pitch. You need work on your elevator pitch. You need to be prepared to talk to these people and tell them what you have going on, but you also
Right.
need to be prepared to show them what you have. So that takes me to my next one. And it's crazy because I just heard this yesterday, but I fully believe in it and have been using this way of living and thinking for a while now. Salehi Brembry, if you don't know who he is a designer. And
Yes.
he was doing an interview talking about how he kind of got started. And something he said really stuck out to me because it's what I've been doing. And he said, decks are the road to checks.
Mm.
Meaning, if you have a pitch deck, if you have electronic press kit, if you have a treatment for your script, always have those things. If you are working on a script, when that script is complete and you got it at a good point, you need to make a treatment for that script. If your script is complete and you know you want to produce it, you need to make a pitch deck. If you finished your movie, you need to make an EPK. Like, you always need to be prepared to do more than just, when you meet the people, just say hi to them. Like, all right,
Right.
hi, but now what?
Right.
Hello, my name is, this is what I do. Hey, scan this. I want you to see what I've been doing.
Exactly.
Took 30 seconds. They may never reach out to you, or they may be like, all right, that person was hungry, thirsty, determined. And maybe the next time they run into you, they're like, okay, I remember you. So
Yeah.
always be prepared for the next step. Like, what do you do when you meet the person who could change your life? Now what? Are
Right.
you have to be prepared to, like, pitch or say, hey, I'm working on this, and this is what I need your help with.
Yeah.
Right? I need you
Mhm.
to jump on as the EP to back it.
Right.
It's not even about I need money. It's like, your name on my movie is going to help other people see it. Because if
Mhm.
you didn't know, that's also a loophole. Sometimes movies are already finished and these people connect with, like, Alina Waithe or Issa Rae or whoever, and they'll tack their name onto it as the EP, even though they had nothing to do with the movie. The movie
Right.
was done when it was presented to them, but they'll tack their name on it, and they use that as leverage to get into these big festivals and big rooms, and it just works. So always be prepared with something to show, something to pitch, but don't let nobody stop you. Don't listen to nobody, not even me.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Danny Coleman. I appreciate your time, your expertise, your knowledge. I appreciate you sharing it with me and with us.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
it's a means to be able to give back to the community by sharing your knowledge, where you don't necessarily have to. But I'm in the business of not gatekeeping, and I
Yeah,
want to be able to share this with our community and be able to allow us to be able to grow
yeah,
and figure out different new innovative ways and even traditional ways of making it into the industry. So I,
absolutely.
I truly appreciate your time. Thank you for joining this interview. And yeah, Danny Coleman, everybody.
Thank you, thank you. I love the Black Script. Like, I've been in love with the platform since I found it, which was actually on ABFF's page one day. ABFF was talking about something, but I seen a comment from your page, And I
Yes.
clicked on it and I was like, where has this page been? I love this page. The content, man, is so dope. I really do love the Black Script. Like the content is fire. I love it. And that, yeah, shouts out to
Thank you.
ABFF because that's how I found you through a comment. I was
Thank you
going
so
through
much.
their comments and I said, oh, what is this? I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Shout
Yeah.
out to ABFF.
Yeah.
I will be there. So
Yeah.
I hope to see you there.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for that your kind words about the Black Script. Been working hard on this, and I'm going to continue to work hard and do what I can to help facilitate and bring this platform to the next level, which will help bring us to the next level.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. I believe it.
yeah, and so I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.